Hello everyone, I'm Jhumki Iyengar, and I'm really looking forward to speaking to you on an area that I strongly believe in, understanding design thinking and people-centered design. This course is an introductory orientation to this topic. Today, we have industry leaders from across various industries speaking and writing a lot about design thinking and about being customer-centric. It has become center stage in many organizations which are trying to rapidly adopt a people-centered approach and a culture in order to be more innovative. So design thinking is enabling organizations to create products and services that are not just what people want, but they're also differentiators in the market. But what is design thinking? This course will help you understand that. It will also help you understand how a people-centered design approach is different from traditional engineering or marketing-focused approaches. And understand as well, how do you create designs that are focused on the people who will use them? The simple approaches, methods, concepts, and tools are versatile and adapt well to various industries, settings, and projects. This course, however, is only an introductory orientation. While in this course you will answer questions in a traditional kind of exam, design is not just about acquiring knowledge. It is as much about doing and making. Until you put your learnings into practice hands-on, on a real project, you will not have internalized the content and the concepts. While the doing and making is not a part of this course, I would encourage you to try and actually apply what you learn at any and every opportunity you get. Because opportunities to make things better are all around us. And because design is a way of life. It's not just a subject or a discipline. I hope you will enjoy this course as much as I have enjoyed bringing it to you. And I'm sure that equipped with the understanding and the appreciation of a different way of thinking and looking at the world, you will have learned to approach a problem in a way that makes the outcome a lot more innovative. Not innovative just for the sake of being innovative, but innovative in the service of people. And I hope that going forward, you will make these approaches a way of life for yourselves. Let's now get started. So what are the objectives of this course? First off, to understand the design thinking approach. Secondly, to learn how it applies to innovating people, product, experience systems. And we'll speak a little later about this notion of people, product, and experience as a whole. And of course, apply it hereafter and ongoing in everything that you do. Because, as I said, it's applicable in any context, in any situation, in any challenge. Because design is a way of life. Before we get going, some of the terminology that I'll use, that you'll hear me use over and over, and perhaps sometimes use interchangeably. First off, human-centered and people-centered. You will hear them both. Design and innovation. We will address these and what it means in a few minutes. Design thinking. The whole approach to thinking along a particular way in order to be more innovative. Product, service, system, and product service system. So when I speak about product, given that in today's world, it's mostly that products and services come bundled together. And for a customer, it is one big system, a relationship with a company. So oftentimes when I say product or service, it also means the bigger notion of a product service system. And the notion of experience design. The product service system, when interacts with a user, it creates an experience. So how do we design those experiences? All right, let's now get started. I would like to start with this quote from Victor Papanek, who's the author of Design for the Real World and also someone who I've always looked up to. He says, the only important thing about design is how it relates to people, because design has the power to make lives better, to make our everyday experiences better. So let's now look at the course content. As you know, the course is going to be delivered in 4 parts. Part 1 is Introduction and Problem Discovery, where you will get introduced to the notion of design thinking, people-centered design, and then how do you evoke, how do you generate the right problem to solve. Part 2 is Research and Analysis, research of people, of the context that people live in, and design insights and strategy that we derive from those people and from those contexts. Number 3, concepting and building. From these insights, you would then go and conceptualize designs. You would ideate and come up with multiple ideas, and then create a single concept out of those, and then create a story around how your design fits into people's lives, and then actually make it. And then the 4th section is about testing, refining, and pitching, where we learn usability testing, which is testing with people, and how we refine and enhance our designs. And then finally, defining the pitch for our design. How do we speak about our design? How do we convey and communicate our design? So let's look quickly at each of these sections. In part 1, Introduction and Problem Discovery, these are the 5 subparts that we will cover. Introduction to design thinking, the need to be people-centric, then the people-centered design methodology, then examining and reflecting on the problem, trying to understand what the real problem is, and then reconsidering and arriving at the right problem to solve. In the second part, Research and Analysis, we will cover these 5 subsections: researching with users and researching their contexts, framing questions and conducting the research. How do you do that? Then how do you bring back what you've learned in the form of user stories and then derive themes from it? Personas, another tool that you will learn. And then insight statements. What are the insights? What are the conclusions? What is the analysis we have drawn from these, and how thereafter do we define the design strategy? Part 3, concepting and building, we will learn based on these insights, how do we generate ideas? And a technique called top 5 ideas is what we will cover. Then from these bunch of ideas, how do you bring it all down into one concept, bundle it and create a single concept? And then create scenarios and storyboards in how your design is going to live in people's lives. And then you actually going to be making it, right? How do you make what you have designed, what you have envisioned in your head? And then part 4, testing, refining, and pitching. The importance of testing with people. Testing, how do you actually test your design with people? How do you conduct the usability test itself? How do you record results? How do you enhance it? How do you retest and refine and make your design better? And then finally, how do you communicate your design? So that's broadly the 4 sections and what they each cover. So let's now start with section 1. Introduction to design thinking. So these 2 arrows, the up and down arrow, are the 2 buttons of the lift. I'm sure many of you have been through situations where you have wondered, should I press the up arrow or should I press the down arrow? Which one is it? Because what's going on in your head is possibly, do I press down because I want to go down? Or do I press up because I'm thinking, lift, please come up because I want to go down? So this is what it looks like when you view it not just as a product, but as a people-product experience system. There's the product, which is those two buttons, and there's the people, the thinking that's going on in people's heads. Now, there are situations where this can be too expensive. For example, this sign that I saw outside the lift in a hospital. As you can imagine, in a hospital, it is time critical that the lift comes right when they need it. So people randomly pressing the wrong button and the lift going and then taking longer to come to the right floor is not acceptable. Therefore, in the hospital, they have put up this sign where they've called it press up to go up and press down to go down. Why does this need a signage, right? That is the question that we need to think. So what is design thinking? Design thinking is thinking for creative problem solving using tools and techniques of innovation. Creative problem solving. So there are these tools and techniques that designers use that we use in the process of practicing design thinking. What does it cover? Design thinking requires for us to be empathetic, to empathize and understand what the user needs. It needs for us to be able to step into the user's shoes. It needs for us to think out of the box, not the first obvious solution that comes to our heads, but to think beyond that and ideate more and more and arrive at a solution in order to meet that need. Then it needs for us to make that design, refine it, make it, refine it, and so on and so forth, until it meets the user's needs. And it also needs for us to collaborate in a diverse team, work in a team, bring those different perspectives together that call for a much richer and more innovative product. So this is the opposite of saying that, you know, it is this one brilliant person who in the middle of the night may come up with this idea. So in design thinking, we believe in collaborating in a diverse team. So let's now look at what is people-centered design. It's not just about the technology, but it's the human and the technology. It's not just about the product, but it's about the product and its overall context in which it lives. It's not about only the physical product or only the digital product, because as we know today, a lot of products are embedded with digital, right? It's about both. So people-centered design is design founded on principles based in research, combining analysis and creative design. Based in research that exists, a huge body of research exists on how people interact with products, and as well as the research that we will do with our users once we embark on creating and trying to develop a people-centric design. So it's this notion of informed design versus trial and error design. Trial and error design is where we would not have an idea. We create a design, but we really don't have any idea whether the people for whom we've designed are able to use it or not, whether it works in their lives or not. And why is it necessary to have this whole approach of people-centric design? Because as you can see from this quote, in practice, not every team puts users first. That is not the way many teams ideate. So let's now look at this everyday example of a microwave oven, which has become a fairly common feature in a lot of kitchens, right? So there's the microwave, and then there's this person, the person who's going to use the microwave, right? So it's about what this does. It can bake, it can roast, it can heat food, it can grill, it can do all these different things. And it's about this person, how it works according to me, how I think it would be reheating the food, right? How I believe, what's in my head as far as how this machine works. So it's not about how it works on the inside or looks on the outside. It's how the product behaves and is used in the real world. It's about how it works on the outside, where a person comes into contact with it. So it's that contact point between the user and the product. So where the person comes into contact with it and has to work with it. So it's about the human and the technology. Being people-centric. Let's look at the example of a financial institution, for example, a bank, right? The user has various touch points with it. You as a banking customer would have various touch points with that financial institution. So with the monthly statement that comes to you, with the customer website perhaps that you interact with the call center, you may call them for certain questions. You have the branch office, of course, which we frequent a lot, a planning guide that their advisor may have sent to you or given to you, and of course the ATM, which many of us use on a regular basis, which is not on this. So these are all the different touch points that together form the interaction or the experience that the user has with this bank. So let's say you go to the branch and it's this really polished branch and this well-dressed person comes and says, how can I help you, and really is helpful. And then you go home and you try to make sense out of your monthly statement and you just can't make any sense out of it. Or you call the call center and they're really rude, or they aren't able to answer your question. So a user's experience means more than just a product interface. It encompasses the whole experience that a person will have with a brand. That brand, in this case, being the bank. And their overall satisfaction with the product. Because remember, for the user, for the customer who's dealing with all these different touch points, it is all one product. They are not separate products. Okay? So it's about the product and the context in which it is used. So it's about the whole experience. Look at these products now that have become a part of our everyday life, in fact almost like an extension of our bodies, the mobile phone. Look now not just at the software that you see on the phone, but look at the hand. Look at the hand and how the hand is interacting with the software that is shown. How easy is it, based on how the software is designed, to make a selection from among the options shown? Because today everybody is designing apps, right? We're designing the software. But it's not just about the software. How does the hand interact with it? How easy is it to place an order? How easy is it to make a selection in this case, right? So it's not just about the digital app, but it's also about the digital and the physical. How that is placed in order that the person may interact with it in a much more comfortable way. So it's about this holistic thinking. So let's now understand the people impact through an example that we see every day, that we almost take for granted, right? The home screen on our mobile phones. But where did this come from? If we look carefully at those 88 pixels, that is a standard that has been defined, this is where it comes from the average human finger pad size, the average fingertip size, and then therefore what makes it a good touch target. So from the tap target and the fingertip size, we come up with this 44 pixels, which has now become a standard. And that is what is used in mobile phones as a de facto standard. But to remember that it ties in with the size and the ability to comfortably interact with what is designed and visible on the screen in software. Let's now look at these two examples. This one is Skype, and this one is another competing app, comparable app called Global App. Both work equally well. There's no difference in the performance. However, the one on the left was very error prone. And as you can see, if you look carefully, that it has violated those tap target sizes, and therefore it became very error prone. Whereas Skype, followed all the conventions. Here's another example, and even by looking at it now, you can tell that there will be a lot of inaccurate clicks because the tap size target has not been conformed to. Okay, let's look at this very simple example now. These are strips of 2 tablets, both of which are fairly comparable tablets taken by people with high blood pressure, right? So it's blood pressure medication. Now, if you have interacted with or know about someone in your family who has high blood pressure, you know certain things about it. Number one is that it needs to be taken every day. It needs to be taken ideally at the same time every day. And of course, knowing how people are, we also know that people forget to take their medications. Not just that, after taking the medication, they sometimes forget whether they took the medication or not. Now, if you look at these 2 examples, this one has the tablets in a strip which has 10 tablets. The one on the left over here is 14, which is corresponding to the 7 days in a week, right? And each of the days of the week are labeled. Not just that, this plastic is transparent. So when the tablet would have been taken out, it is clear to you that yes, I have taken the tablet. So you can see how the tablet on the left, exactly same function, has been designed with a lot more thought, a lot more attention to how people are. The people have been brought into the design of this. So innovation is often in the details. That's the point I want you to take away from this, that innovation is not always or not at all necessary about waking up in the middle of the night with a vision. It's this little detailed thing that can make a big difference in a person's life. And design thinking does not need to cost more. I would imagine this hardly costs the company anything to do. This is people-centric design. This is a peeler, and it's from this company called OXO. Now, this peeler was originally designed for people with difficulties with their hands and fingers, like arthritis. They may have arthritis in the hand or motor control problems with their hand. So this peeler was designed, keeping that kind of user in mind, and thereafter, once it was released in the market, it was such a huge success that everybody wanted it. Everybody liked it, and thereafter OXO developed many other products. They formed a sort of a product line. But this was designed for a particular segment of users, and then it became something that everybody could work with. Similarly, the sidewalks, the footpaths, pavements, designing them with a little slope was originally in keeping in mind the wheelchair users. So they would be able to use the pavements and the footpaths. But once it was designed, it was found that it worked really well for everybody. You and I also don't like to be walking on the footpath and then stepping down and up and down and up over and over again. So it's oftentimes in these details. So if you would think of it as, oh, it's just a pavement, remember, it can make people's lives easier or it can make people's lives harder, depending on how you have designed it. And you've probably seen places where on the pavement there are steps to go, you step up and step down, step up and step down. In all those places you'll find people are walking on the road. They're not using the pavement because it's not as comfortable. So this notion of extreme users, designed for a particular kind of user, but then it works very well for everybody. This is another example from Ford Motor Company. Ford was interested in older consumers as a way of, expanding their market and giving particular focus to this target segment, thinking that they were targeting a very special part of the market, older consumers. So they made the lettering stroke 40% wider for people, with limited vision that comes with aging. What they found, however, that it improved the reading speed and accuracy, eased eye strain and reduced distractions, not just for the elderly folks, but it was easier even for the younger people to read. So everybody benefited from this design, which was originally envisioned for these extreme users. These are products from PepsiCo, one of the companies that is leading this whole revolution into being more customer-centric, bringing about a change in the company culture, etc. And you might think, what is there to be innovative? This is what they came out with, Pepsi Spire, where users are able to mix their drinks in different combinations depending on the kind of flavors that suits their taste. This is a quote from Indra Nui, and she says, she's the head of PepsiCo, she says that there's a fine line between innovation and design. Ideally, design leads to innovation, and innovation demands design. So through the design, people-centric design process that they went through, it ended up in an innovation. I would also like to share with you this quote from a Nobel laureate, Herb Simon, who says, "Everyone designs who devises courses of action aimed at changing existing situations into preferred ones." We know that all of us want to change existing situations into preferred ones. All of us are involved in changing existing situations into preferred ones. We want to be more innovative. We want to be creating the kind of designs that really work, not just in the market, but also in the lives of people. So this is a quote from the Chief Design Officer of PepsiCo, which really resonates with how I think about this. He says, "I strongly believe that design and innovation are exactly the same thing. Design is more than the aesthetics and artifacts associated with products." This is a very common misconception that most people have, that it's only about aesthetics. It's a strategic function that focuses on what people want and need and dream of, and then crafts experiences across the full brand ecosystem that are meaningful and relevant for customers. This captures very nicely what the overall design thinking approach is all about. So what does it mean to be a design thinker and a people-centered designer? Beliefs. Believing, first of all, that all problems are solvable. Believing that you have what it takes to try and use some of these approaches to solve any problem. And secondly, that the people who face those problems every day are the ones who hold the key to their answer. The answer to those problems, those challenges that you're working with, lie in the people who are struggling with this. So what do we do as a design thinker and people-centered designer? We dream up lots of ideas. We don't just come up with the first thing that comes to our head. Some work and some don't work, and that is okay. We make our ideas tangible so that we can test them and refine them. Tangible, we make them. What else do we do? We tinker and we test, like an experimenter. We keep trying. We try different things, try this, try that, reject this, enhance that, and keep testing it. We fail early and often. Except we don't think of it as failure. We think about it as eliminating things that do not work. We spend a surprising amount of time not knowing the answer to the challenge at hand. we spend a surprising amount of time being comfortable and working in this whole zone of unknowns, of ambiguity. We work in that because we know that following this process, following this approach, we're going to get there. We have faith in it. And yet, we forge ahead. We empathize and we iterate. We empathize is we step into the shoes of the people who we are designing for. We try and understand what and how things are happening in their lives. And we iterate. We keep refining. We look for inspiration in unexpected places, not in the most obvious place, not for the most obvious solution that comes to our heads, but we keep looking around because there's so many inspirations all around us, if we only look. We believe that a solution is out there, and by keeping focused on the people that we're designing for and asking the right questions, we will address this in section 2. How do you ask the right questions? We will get there together. Who is together? I, the designer, and the people who I'm designing for. Together, we will come up with the best solutions. So, let's now talk about these 7 mindsets that set us apart as human-centered designers, and this has been put forward by IDEO. Number 1 is creative confidence. Having that creative confidence that you have big ideas and you have the ability to work on them. That, it's not just 1 or 2, but there'll be so many ideas, and it's going to come. That you make it. You make your idea, and what you're doing in the process of making is taking the risk out by making something very simple first, because we always learn from our mistakes, right? So that is what this is about. Making something and learning from it and making it better and leaving behind what doesn't work so that we don't take it to the market with us. Don't take forward into the market what does not work. Number 3 is learn from failure, except we don't think about it as failure. We think about it as experiments through which you will learn. Empathy. If we want new solutions, we must observe, we must know, and we must understand different people, scenarios, and places. So we go through these activities that allow us to be empathetic, and we will learn some of those activities that let us actually go out and bring back information about the people and the places and the contexts for which we are designing. Embrace ambiguity. Give ourselves permission to explore lots of different possibilities so the right answer can reveal itself. Remember, it's saying reveal itself. It's not the, that you will come up with the right answer, but it is like if you keep going through this process, you will learn how the fog starts clearing. We're filled with ambiguity in the beginning, we're filled with unknowns, it's all foggy, but slowly the fog starts clearing, and the answer, the real answer, the most user-centric answer, the human-centric solution starts revealing itself, it starts emerging. Optimism, very important, a can-do attitude, that the problem is solvable. That has to drive you forward. And iterate, iterate, iterate. Iterate means, keep going, refining, again testing, again refining, and making it better and better. So what we're doing by iterating is we're validating our ideas. We know what works and also what doesn't work. Why? Because we are actually hearing from the people. In this whole activity of usability testing and iteration, we actually bring in the people for whom we are designing, and that's why it works. All right, so that was part 1, section 1.